first opinion. One is that staff members may be unable to distinguish between what customers would like to do and what they actually will do. Another is that these people are sometimes overly influenced by recent experiences. Third, consumer service opinions, because it is the consumers who will ultimately determine demand. It seems natural to solicit input from them. In some instances, every customer or potential customer can be contacted. However, usually there are too many customers or there is no way to identify all potential customers. Therefore, organizations seeking consumer input usually resort to consumer surveys, which enable them to sample customer opinions. Lastly, the Delphi method, an alternative process in which managers and staff complete a series of questionnaires, each developed from the previous one. To achieve a consensus forecast, an attempt is made to develop forecasts through group consensus. Usually, a panel of experts is asked to respond to a series of questionnaires.
Let's go now on forecasts based on time series data. Time series is defined as a time-ordered sequence of observations taken at regular intervals. Analysis of time series data requires the analyst to identify the underlying behavior of the series. These behaviors can be described as follows. The first one, trend, a long-term upward or downward movement in data. Population shifts, changing incomes, and cultural changes often account for such movements. The second one is the seasonality. Short-term regular variations related to the calendar or time of day. Restaurants, supermarkets, and theaters experience weekly and even daily seasonal variations. The third one is the cycles, wave-like variations lasting more than 1 year. These are often related to a variety of economic, political, and even agricultural conditions. The fourth one is the irregular variations, caused by unusual circumstances not reflective of typical behavior. Due to unusual circumstances, such as severe weather conditions, strikes, or a major change in a product or service. Whenever possible, these should be identified and removed from the data. The fifth one is the random variations. Residual variations after all other behaviors are accounted for. A simple but widely used approach to forecasting is the naive approach. Naive approach can be used. With a stable series, the last data point becomes the forecast for the next period. Thus, if demand for a product last week was 20 cases, the forecast for this week is also 20 cases. With seasonal, the forecast for this season is equal to the value of the series last season. For example, the forecast of the number of checks cashed at a bank on the first day of the month next month is equal to the number of checks cashed on the first day of this month. With trend to the forecast is equal to the last value of the series plus or minus the difference between the last two values of the series. Seasonal variations, regularly repeating movements in series values that can be tied to recurring events. The term seasonal variations is also applied to daily, weekly, monthly, or other regularly recurring patterns in data. The techniques for seasonality comprise additive model. The seasonality is expressed as a quantity which is added to or subtracted from the series average in order to incorporate seasonality. The other one is the multiplicative model. Seasonality is expressed as a percentage of the trend amount, which is then used to multiply the value of a series to incorporate seasonality. We would not go deeper into it because this is just an overview. The associative forecasting techniques. The associative techniques rely on identification of related variables that can be used to predict values of interest. The essence of associative techniques is the development of an equation that summarizes the effects of predictor values. Predictor values defines as the variables that can be used to predict values of the variable of interest. For example, sales of beef may be related to the price per pound charged for beef and the price of substitutes such as chicken, pork, and lamb. Real estate prices are usually related to property location and square footage, and crop yields are related to soil conditions and the amounts and timing of water and fertilizer applications.
Imagine if you had a crystal ball. You could predict business trends, interest rates, market changes. You could make risk-free decisions, assuring the most productive and profitable use of all resources. You'd know what's coming, so you'd know how to prepare. But without a crystal ball, or at least a plan, you have to rely on past results. Too late to make a change if you're off course. It's critical to set your sights on your personal and business goals and map out a plan so you have the right resources available when they're needed. So your survival depends on how well you can predict the future. Financial forecasting is a way to simulate your own crystal ball.
Now, after knowing the different techniques that could be used, we should also consider some factors in choosing an appropriate forecasting technique. Here are they: cost, accuracy, availability of historical data, availability of computer software, time needed to gather and analyze data, and to prepare the forecast. The two most important factors are cost and accuracy. Generally speaking, the higher the accuracy, the higher the cost. The best forecast is not necessarily the most accurate or the least costly. It is some combination of accuracy and cost deemed best by management. When gasoline prices increased dramatically in 2005, due in part to hurricane damage, makers of gasoline SUVs had no historical data to predict demand for those vehicles under those conditions. The forecast horizon is important because some techniques are more suited to long-range forecasts, while others work best for the short range. Computers play an important role in preparing forecasts based on quantitative data. Their use allows managers to develop and revise forecasts quickly and without the burden of manual computations. There is a wide range of software packages available for forecasting. The Excel templates on the text website are an example of spreadsheet approach. Next, we now go on to the operation strategy. Strategy, an overall plan for the organization to accomplish its objectives in the context of environmental forces beyond the control of the organization. It seeks to lay down as to how the organization plans to meet the uncertain and competitive world outside and makes different assumptions as regards the tactics and strengths of the competitors. Operation strategy, a plan to transform an organization's overall strategic objectives into operational expectations. It involves the design of the product or service and the processes by which the product or service is produced, the way in which the production is managed and controlled. These are some of the operation strategies that we would discuss. First, work to improve short-term forecast. Better short-term forecast will not only enhance profits. Here are some of the operation strategy that we would tackle. First, work to improve short-term forecast. Better short-term forecast will not only enhance profits through lower inventory levels, fewer shortages, and improved customer service levels. They also will enhance forecasting credibility throughout the organization. If short-term forecasts are inaccurate, why should other areas of the organization put faith in long-term forecasts? Also, the sense of confidence short-term forecast would generate would allow allocating more resources to strategic and medium to long-term planning and less on short-term tactical activities. Second, choose to devote efforts to shortening the time horizon that forecast must cover. This means shortening the lead time needed to respond to a forecast. This This might involve building flexibility into operations to permit rapid response to changing demands for products and services, or to changing volumes in quantities demanded, shortening the lead time required to obtain supplies, equipment, and raw materials, or the time needed to train or retrain employees, or shortening the time needed to develop new products and services. Third, operations people may want more optimistic forecasts to reduce the risk of being blamed for possible shortages. Lastly, sharing forecasts or demand data throughout the supply chain can improve forecast quality in the supply chain, resulting in lower costs and shorter lead times. A supply chain is a system of organizations, people, technology, activities, information, and resources involved in moving a product or service from supplier to a customer. Supply chain activities transform natural resources, raw materials, and components into a finished product that is delivered to the end consumer.
Here I come. So, Maria, I think we've established your needs, and it's clear that my solution is the best. Do you have any other questions before I write down your order?
Well, Peter, you know, it's,
Yes, Maria?
Well, Peter, the fact is, I'm not buying.
What? That to me. You need this very badly. I need your order very badly. I've put so much work into this project.
Sorry, Peter. Thanks, but no thanks. I don't think we really need this, you know. It's all nice and everything. But no.
Oh my God! But Maria, you were so interested. You showed all those buying signals. Oh my God! I need help. Boss! Boss! Help! Boss! Help!
To sum up all, the importance of forecasting lies in its ability to help managers to understand the future makeup of the organizational environment, which in turn helps them to formulate an effective plan. Right, Chinky?
Yes, you're right, Fatima. Generally speaking, the responsibility for preparing demand forecasts in business organizations lies with marketing or sales rather than operations.
Well, I think that ends our discussion for today.
Once again, I am Chinky Perez.
And I'm Fatima Grace Enzola. We've just talked about forecasting. Thank you and good day.